Hi, my name is Charlie, and I'm happy to present this work entitled Learning Practices for Recursive Questionnaires, developed with my colleagues Romano Penelo from Federal University of Rio de Janeiro and Lucas Sigo from Federal University of Fluminense, also both of them from Synergy Consortium. We all remember some stress during our studies at the university, and today is not so different. This feeling is usually due to difficulties to understand the course content, on concentrating on study, and or taking evaluations. Perhaps the words right, and if the results are not good enough, usually students evade the discipline. This is strongly observed in physics, and in our institution is not so different. Usually, four main types of evaluation could be used, like placement, diagnosis, formative, and summative. The first one is applied to choose a course. The second one at the beginning of discipline. A summative assessment is mainly used to assess whether the student has sufficient knowledge to pass the discipline or not. Perhaps the most interesting assessment is the formative one, because teacher could provide feedback to the students to improve their learning. Some types of feedback are an immediate correction, show the complete solution, and or give some tips on finding the solution. This work is in continuous development at the Synergy Consortium, which is an institution designed to offer blended courses for 92 counties from Rio de Janeiro state, bringing together professors from universities of Rio de Janeiro. 32 centers are part of the Synergy Consortium and represented with yellow circles in this map that has some libraries, laboratories, and offers tutoring support. The discipline Introduction to Physical Science 1 is offered to 6 different graduation courses. Normally, the discipline is frequented by 1,000 students per semester, where we observe a large number of evasions. In order to face this issue, we improved a formative assessment. The previous assessment was called Oficina. This assessment was a face-to-face test with only one chance, corrected after more than 1 week by the number of the students, and usually observing some type of cheat. Nowadays, this assessment is online, without restrictions of attempts, an immediate correction, receiving the first attempt, and reducing the possibility of copying between students. There are some restrictions for the students. The assessment typically has 20 questions presented in a random order for each student, reducing the possibility of a group of students taking the assessment. They have 3 hours to make an attempt, wait 1 hour between attempts, and 2 weeks to obtain the desired grade. Here you can see an example of a question in this picture taken from ABA platform, where students has to provide a numerical response with unity and the correct number of decimal places. For this type of questions, numerical variables should be provided so that we can give a different value for each student at an attempt also. This ensures that the student must try to understand how to find the correct answer, and if there are no restrictions, will be stimulated to find the solution by himself. Here, the mass and the angle are the numerical variables. With this new assessment and using Python libraries, we can separate the students by attempt and the respective grade. monitoring the evolution of grades, which is shown in this graph. Red triangles represent students who make another attempt, and blue hexagons represent students who stop to improve their grades. In this rectangle, you can observe the number of students by attempt. With these tools, we can identify the students who need more attention, and in this graph, they are distinguished with the colored lines. Also with these lines, we can observe that the students get better grades in each new attempt, but some students stop to improve or take a long time. From 2019 until now, we observe the same pattern every semester with a good number of participations and attempts. We are studying the students' grades, and the following results are interesting. These are the final grades from the second semester of 2020, contrasted with the grades of one of our online assessments, vectors in this case. In this chart, red circles represent the students who failed the discipline, and green circles represent those who passed. There are two columns of graphs because on the left are presented all grades from the students who participate until the third attempt. On the right, we filter the grades of the students who participate in the third attempt from the previous attempt. In the rectangles, you can find some relevant information, as the number of attempts, the number of students separated in groups, fail or pass, the mean and standard deviation for each group, represented with an intensity color in the graph. It is interesting to observe that the students who pass are always greater than those who fail. Students who pass the discipline have better grades. Also, they improve their grades faster, and this is more clearly observed in the right column chart, following the green circles. As a summary, in this work, we start improving the assessment for the topics vectors and forces. As students express their positive feelings about our implementations, the online formative assessments have grown to the rest of the topics: introduction, optics, cinematics, and astronomy. With this new implementation, we can identify students who need more attention and interact with them to give a better support before summative assessment. Howard and collaborators in 2019 observed that students with lower grades didn't participate of the remediation. In our case, most of the students with lower grades participate of the remediation. Important for us because we are trying to understand how to give a better support. In all of our new online assessments, the group of approved students is always greater than the group of failed students obtaining better grades. We are always trying to improve our assessments and the contents to give a better support. These are some references used to make this presentation. And in this QR code, you will find some information about this work. We will be happy to hear you to receive your feedback in the question part. Thank you for your attention.